All right, guys, today we got the brand new Jordan Kobe's. Just kidding, it's the Zion 3s. Yo, what's good, guys? My name's Chris. Welcome back to the official WearTesters.com YouTube channel. Today we have what could possibly be one of the best basketball shoes of the year. But basically, this is the Zion 3. This is the box. It's got the same kind of print as it does along the upper. Some colorways of this shoe look really cool, like the white and cements. Those look awesome. Are these gonna sell out like, say, the GT Cut ones and things like that? I really don't know. It's always possible, but it is what it is. It's also a Jordan signature shoe, like not the Jordan signature, it's a Jordan team signature, and we all know how that goes. Now, as far as the shoe itself, it's very interesting, I'll say that much. I do think that this could be one of the best basketball shoes of the year, not because it's Zion or because it's a Jordan or anything like that. It's just because it reminds me of a Kobe, and they're always some of the greatest shoes to play in. Whoever was in charge of these kind of veered off in that direction, if you know what I'm saying. So like, that's the one thing where there's actually two things that I feel like will overshadow the shoe itself. The first thing would be the overall direction of the line. There isn't one, and it's very clear. It's very obvious. You know what I mean? Look at the one, you look at the two, and then now you look at the three. They're all vastly different looking. And more importantly, they all feel vastly different. So when you put on the Zion ones, they were shaped really weird. Like they were shaped this way, and it did not meet my foot. You know what I mean? Like it was one of those things where I was like, yo, these are mad uncomfortable just from a fit perspective. Was that for everybody? Of course not. Everyone's foot's different. On top of that, I thought they were complete ass on court. So, you know, it is what it is. The traction was awful, everything. The material sucked. It was a bad shoe. The Zion 2, very promising, but also went in a completely different direction. It was a beefcake of a sneaker compared to the first, and especially these. The fit on those was interesting as well. It was roomy in the front, very tight in the back. It had the 4-foot strap and things like that, so it was a really interesting fit. Nothing like the Zion one, so it was a huge departure. Then you move on to these, and it's the same thing. These fit nothing like the first two. Very weird. So if you're looking for consistency, this is not the line for you. That's the one thing where the Kobe's were mad consistent. You know what I mean? Like you kind of knew what you were getting as soon as the 4s dropped onward. The other thing that I think is going to overshadow the shoe itself is the player, which is unfortunate. We all know that he hasn't been playing much. Inside the tongue, it actually says shock the world, and I believe that most of his fans are still waiting for that. So it should say fingers crossed. Granted, that's no fault of his own. He's been plagued by injuries, but still, I just hope that the shoe isn't like held back by those two things, the lack of consistency and direction and the lack of actual playing time from the player. Because we all know how like shoes go, like when it comes to players and things like that, like the 3-1 thing with Curry and his shoes, like that goes around and it ends up like plaguing the brand and the footwear and all that stuff, which is unfortunate because it could be a really great shoe and it's just held back by bad juju. But as far as the shoe itself is concerned, these just feel awesome. So the outsole itself is very simple. It's just herringbone mixed with a little bit of radial. I really like this. I think that this is going to perform really well. On top of that, the rubber actually feels pretty decent. Like it feels like it could be a decent shoe outside. I'm not saying it's going to be a long-lasting shoe. I'm just saying it could work really well. One thing though that you will notice is just how narrow they are. You can see this from the bottom. You can also feel it when your foot is in there. So again, if you've played in the Zion 1 and then the Zion 2 and you're expecting the same type of feel, you're not going to get it. Which I guess I should just go into fit real quick. They fit snug, they do fit true to size, but they are very snug. So if you like a snug fit, you're going to dig this. If you don't like a snug fit, or say you got a wide foot or whatever, this might be one of those shoes that you pass on. Mostly because like most wide footers will go up half a size to try and accommodate for their width issue, and then you'll get that heel slip and everything like that, and then you're going to complain about the shoe, and it's not the shoe's fault because they don't fit you, it's just that your foot wasn't made for this shoe, you know what I mean? So that's just kind of what it is. I will say that inside there are big puffy heel notches, or they're not really in the heel, they're around the heel, so they're on the sides and stuff. So that should help for some people, but I don't think that it'll be like a full-on game changer where if you go up half a size, you will not get heel slip just because those are there, you know what I'm saying? So if you do go up half a size, just be aware, you could have some heel slip issues. Everybody else though, they fit true to size, they're just very tight. Now, as far as the tech features on the shoe, again, very Kobe-like. They come with one of these guys. This right here is a drop-in midsole. When you take it out, the shoe is pretty flexible and all that stuff. Is that gonna be dangerous for a dude as big as Zion? We'll wait and see. Like, I'm not gonna predict anything, I'm just saying, it'll be interesting. I will say that once the shoe has the midsole in there, they're not as You know what I mean? And it's for a couple of things. One is that plate that you see on the bottom there, so that's really cool. I'll dig that. The other thing is that the rubber wrapped up everywhere, both medial and lateral. So in my mind, everything is covered for a big dude like Zion, and it should be plenty for everybody else. So I wouldn't be scared to play in these or anything like that. Like I wouldn't feel like I'm gonna bust through these. I actually do think that it's funny. This is legit plastic. I'd like to see him try to bust through these. I don't think he can. But anyways, as far as the drop-in is concerned, this is Formula 23. This is probably the most comfortable that it's ever been outside of the Air Jordan 38. The Air Jordan 38 I thought was really great, but it was very thin, you know what I mean? So there wasn't a lot of it. This is just all Formula 23 and it feels awesome. It feels very similar to Cushlon, but a little bit more dense, maybe a little bit rubbery in comparison. And then we've got a 4-foot zoom unit. This thing is weird as far as like the way that it looks, because that's a standard 4-foot zoom unit. So you can see how much larger it is as far as like the overall circumference, but the thickness of the regular zoom units are very thin. You know what I mean? Like they're only a few millimeters thick. This guy right here, I mean, it's a beefcake. Like it's huge.
That's what she said.
And it feels good underfoot too. It's isolated. Again, it's very small as far as like the overall like circumference of the, I don't know how to explain it, but it's just like where your foot would come into contact with it. But overall, I mean, it's a thicker unit. So it's up to you whether or not you think that that's better or not. I think like it just depends on what you want. You know what I mean? Do you want to be closer to the ground or do you want to feel like you got a spring underneath your feet? But as far as the way that it feels, mad comfortable. And again, I really love this plate right here, dude. Like this is awesome. We've seen this a few different times on a few different models. We've also seen it with series player only with their drop-ins, their support midsole and stuff like that. So it's all on here. I think that it's awesome. As far as the upper is concerned, it's all textile, but it's got this weird ass overlay that almost feels like, it's gonna sound weird, but it feels like a fruit roll-up, man. It's very thin, but it's also strong, just kind of what it reminds me of. The color on this particular shoe also lends itself to that fruit roll-up theme. I'm not saying that that's what this is, I'm just saying that's what it reminds me of. And yeah, I think that it feels very good. It's a nice lightweight textile. It is backed by something because it's got a little bit of a, like a poppy, like a crunchy look to it, or not look, but a feel. But once you break it in, it should be fine. Like once you start to warm it up with your feet and your sweat and all that stuff and all that movement, I wouldn't worry about it. It's gonna feel good outside of the whole super narrow aspect. The tongue also feels nice. It's decently padded. It's got the same kind of like print embedded or molded into it. So it's like a micro mesh. You got a giant Jumpman logo with the Roman numeral 3 under there. And then you got the back right here. This again, just kind of reminds me of a Kobe and everything. Just very simple, very clean. It's got a synthetic leather on there. You got Zion's logo. You got a lot of embroidered and stitched on detail. And then you got this nice little Jumpman down there, which I think just looks cool. One of the things that I will say is very cool and an underrated feature is actually the midfoot outrigger. And this is something that's not used often. Should it be? I don't know. Kind of depends on the player and the play style. Obviously, that's going to be something that's going to leave a little bit of like some cumbersomeness to the overall mobility of the athlete. But if you're a big dude and you take heavy ass steps, you don't want to roll over and you don't want to take that risk, this midfoot outrigger is going to take care of that for you, no problem. Will everybody need something like that? No. Will everybody like something like that? Probably not. But again, it's there, so I think that it's interesting and it's a feature that, again, we don't see often. We always kind of see these 4-foot ones, which is here, and sometimes we see a rear one, but this one's got one on the midfoot, and I just think that it's a really cool thing. It's very player specific or play style specific. So again, if you're a heavy footer and you plant really hard and just like really like push over like that side of your shoe and then blow it out, you know, I'm not saying this is going to help a blowout. I'm just saying it's going to help you not roll over yourself. If you step on somebody's feet, you're But with all that being said, sound off below and let us know what you think about them. Also, if you already have a pair, feel free to let us know what you think about them on court as well. What do you think about that zoom unit, man? I really think this is cool. It's smaller, but it's thicker. So sound off below, let us know. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. We greatly appreciate it. Stay tuned for a performance review on these guys. And with that being said, we will catch you guys on the next one. So until then, have a good one.